Welcome to the Alex and Mike Show, starring Alex and Mike.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Mike and Alex Show. Today's topic of discussion is a good one. What is it, Mike?
Today we'll be discussing something to make you think. Just exactly how can a person's motives affect how that person's actions are viewed?
So, in a more basic sense, how can knowing someone's true motivation help justify or possibly condemn them for their actions?
Exactly, and by looking at a story like In the Time of the Butterfly by Julia Alvarez, or a certain modern day's example of the same concept, then you can see how a bias can affect a person's interpretation of an act.
So let's get right into it. Alright, the book we have today with us to support our discussion is In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez.
Fantastic book, Alex. Loved everything about it.
Sure was, Mike. Sure was.
But back to our question, Alex.
Of course. So today's question is extremely well illustrated in Julia Alvarez's piece, a true story which focuses on the collapse of the authoritarian regime of General Trujillo of the Dominican Republic and the revolution behind it. Spearheaded by people like the Mirabal sisters. The Mirabal sisters, Mate, Patria, Minerva, and Dede, are the main characters of the story, and their real-life counterparts played a major part in the Dominican Revolution.
There are plenty of examples in the book of how knowing the character's motivation can help the reader understand the character's actions.
Smaller plot elements, like Dede burning the letters from Leo to Minerva, asking her to run away and start a new life with him.
Exactly, this can be viewed as Dede controlling Minerva by invading her privacy by someone who did not understand Dede's motivation, when in reality all Dede was trying to do was protect her sister from a life as a fugitive by making a premature and rash decision.
Similarly, there was a controversial decision that was made by Mate, who joined the revolution just for the sole purpose of pleasing her husband.
I agree, some readers might view this as a superficial gesture compared to the rest of the people who joined the revolution to make the country a better place. This might not affect much of the story as a whole, but such a casual reason for joining the revolution seems half-hearted compared to those who are fighting to save their country or avenge their family.
Those are some great points, and I think you're right. A reason like that is far from acceptable when concerning the cause it's for, and it's even a little embarrassing. At first, her decision may seem wholehearted and true, but with more analysis, it's clear that her motive, being the love for her husband, was her primary influence in her actions.
As a final example, Trujillo, as a character throughout the book, perfectly illustrates our question. Up until their adolescence, the Mirabal sisters, as with most of the country, thought that General Trujillo was a great man and didn't dare question his rule.
That's right. And this view is in direct contrast with how they viewed him for the rest of the novel. They learned that Trujillo ran his authoritarian regime with power being his primary concern, not the safety and well-being of his people. And this permanently changed how the people of the Dominican viewed all of his actions.
And that's certainly true. They lived their life for a long time not even questioning his rule. But when they learned the truth about his greed and power lust, they turned against him.
This brings about the second piece of our discussion. This segment is about a broad question, and even though we have this lovely book to help us illustrate our point, there are plenty of modern-day examples of people's motives distorting the image of their actions in the eyes of the public. For those of you who are not familiar, Edward Snowden is a man involved in a government scandal that involved the leaking of details of the actions of the National Security Agency. A man who the government portrays as a traitor to the country after revealing countless secrets concerning government surveillance to both American citizens and people around the world.
In reality, he himself claims to simply seek the best for the citizens of the United States. He feels that they deserve to know that they are being watched.
These polarizing opinions on Snowden's actions make for invigorating discussion and is a popular issue in today's news.
Another example on a less intense level could be the three cups of tea scandal.
Right! Greg Mortensen, the main author and character behind a touching story concerning the construction of schools for the poor in the Himalayas.
This all seems to be a noble and just cause, but upon further research, it turned out that Morrison was accepting all the donations for building these schools for his own personal gain, and only a few poorly constructed single-room schools for him to claim his own.
Some saw him as a kind and generous man, but upon exploration of his motives, he turned out to be a liar and a crook.
Another topic that's been widely disputed upon could be the United States deciding not to give the Libyan rebels weapons for their revolution.
That's a very interesting issue. Unlike the last two things we talked about, the lines in this case are blurred.
Some people view it as a political decision to maintain the safety of the country and to prevent unnecessary spending of funds.
And some view it as a selfish denial, ignoring diplomatic interests of these rebels who are seeking freedom in a manner not much different than we did only 250 years ago.
But we cannot really know the motives of the government, so it has been left to conjecture of citizens and politicians alike, and their own varying opinions.
I could not have said it better myself. Well, that about wraps up our time for discussion today, folks.
But before we go, take a moment to think.
Don't let your mind jump to conclusions about why certain actions were carried out. Take the time to look at an issue from different perspectives before you choose a side.
Whether you are analyzing literature, world events, or just wondering why that girl couldn't make it to your date last Friday.
I think we both know the answer to that one, Mike.
Good night, everybody!